Weird science is the revolution.
Batman 149. Again, I keep saying, but this feels like, let's put away all the toys. Hey, we're here. You would almost guess, if I read this and you said, like, what, I would think it was 150. That seems like what you would be getting towards. But because of this absolute power and the timing, it didn't happen. But here we go. And as I said in the ending of that intro, like, what do you do? What do you do after this, Eric, when you end up putting all the toys away? Feels weird.
You start anew.
Yeah, but like starting anew feels like you're starting anew for another 50 issues. It doesn't feel like...
Hey, I don't know when Chip Zdarsky's getting off.
Yes, probably last night, I would guess.
Yeah?
I don't know his personal life or anything, but maybe his eyes were glassy a bit there. But like I said, this doesn't feel like... It feels like something that would be like, hey, I did this. Hey, everybody, it's done. Boom. Get everything there for the... But yet, it seems like he's continuing, though. Everything's going to be based on those October solicits. That'll be a big thing of what all these new writers, who the new creative teams, and possibly even more than we know. But this is Batman 149, written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Michelle Bandini and Steve Lieber. So you do have two pencilers, Nick Filardi and Clayton Coles. And you're going to tie things in. We were wondering what happened to the Bruce Wayne clone Robin. It looked like they just left him behind. Didn't mention anything about him at the end of last issue.
No, because we had to have a photo op thing with all the Bat family jumping up and saying, yeah, we're family. Hey, what about that guy we left tied up? Oh, shit!
Oh, no! And even the idea of wondering what happened with Sumar, wondering what happened to the failsafe robot, and that kind of hits in
here. It's taken by the government.
And so when they say, but even then, Robin's still going to look. He doesn't know. We kind of know. But the idea where Damian's like, I'm going to go find what happened to the robot. He's going to go up. And in this deal where the clone is just, crime alley, busting heads, busting shops, and Batman comes in and pretty much has a Goodwill Hunting deal of it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
We got to break through all the Zur reprogramming that was put to him, because while he was given Bruce's memories, he wasn't given all of Bruce's memories. The times that he's overcome all the loss in his life and situations, because everything about this Bruce Wayne Robin clone was pretty much put in place to be the subservient Robin that Zur and R needed. Even to the point where,
though,
in the cloning of it, he's a dispendable soldier, so he's going to age rapidly, and I'm going to constantly just keep pushing out these Robin clones to be what I need them to be, because it doesn't matter if they live or die.
It doesn't matter, but even then was like...
Doesn't matter!
Him guessing at that, like, the thing that was weird is, you want to play that he has most of the memories, but to be able to say that he was controlled, you're like, oh, I see, he partitioned things different. He put the training in the forefront so that you would do that. But they still want to have the feels by the end of remembering some things, but not remembering the recent stuff, and to be kind of questioning things. But
all the memories to keep you in key with the memories of the line with the mission.
Yeah, but he still even has memories of just running around the mansion, getting snacks by his mom. Like, he has all the memories. He's a clone. It's just some of them are pushed back a bit. And
I imagine all the childhood stuff is still there, because you need to have that to have the immense loss of Crime Alley.
Yeah, I'm saying, he says, I generally feel like he was my father. I have all these memories, and Batman says they were partitioned. So what was at the forefront were memories involving skill acquisition. But there were other key memories, ones to keep it within lines of his missions as well, in the forefront. But I think he has most of the things. The things that he is upset about is they don't feel like he lived them. Obviously, he didn't. But you spend a lot more time with this clone than I thought we would by the end of this, especially because it looked like they ended up ditching him. But then Damian shows up and it's like, what are you doing with that stinking clone? Which feels so off for me for Damian. It just didn't feel right for what Damian has gone through, and even having his like weird ass clones that he put on, and those clones when he even put on the island back in the deal, and all that stuff. The R.I.P. those things, but still, you ended up where he. I don't know that Chip Zdarsky really understood exactly Damian in this. I felt that was a little bit off.
I don't know, because even the idea, because it seemed like this is something he might have thought out, because the idea of this thing that was like, raised or like grown in a lab, like Damian, you were grown in a lab. Like the idea that they do share this commonality. Damian is onto something that he doesn't want his father to spend time with this thing, because there are bigger problems that Damian himself are worried about. Worried about.
But I'm saying that doesn't go with, hey, you're talking to that walking collection of DNA, and then at one point he says something else with it. What? Hey, how do you intend to fix this thing? in between holding his hand, it's a little too much for me, especially what Damian has gone through and has been and what we've seen from him before. I just think it's just there. Maybe you could go the jealousy route or something like that, but Damian's going to go off and check out the fail-safe robot.
This is also the guy that kicked his ass for a little while, too, so he could be a little pissed off about that.
Well, that he does say about it being, but again, I think that he'd be able to see through that, especially, again, what he went through even with his mom and stuff like that. But you end up with these memories and this clone. I think it goes on way too long. It's really in there. It's just overdone, I think, with the idea of this clone. I would love the idea
of keeping this clone in here to do something with him.
It should have been that he would have been a villain. I think would have been even better.
A villain and something along the lines of something that has staying power. Because ultimately what we do here is, I'm going to fix you, little Bruce Wayne clone, because I'm the Batman, so I do. You deserve better than this. Oh my God, I can't fix you. You're going to die of old age.
He's like, I'm going to fix you. Oh shit, I don't have any money. And then I'm going to fix you. Oh man, I don't know. The idea that they mention at one point that Zor-En-Arr probably had a way that he would have stopped the acceleration, but he didn't want to. He wanted it to. He said he accelerated you to be fighting shape, and then he didn't stop it. But Batman ends up being able to remember so much of what Zor-En-Arr thought and did and whatnot, but not this. He ends up, I can't get it. Mr. Terrific comes in. Mr. Terrific seems to walk in to the room and say, I've done nothing. I'm all out of ideas. He's done. Like, we don't even see him even try. He's like, I tried all I could. I'm out of ideas.
Oh, God, is Dr. Midnight alive? Can we call Dr. Midnight?
And just to get this, deal of, here we go, and even mentions, well, I said we could get the consciousness up there and upload it, but they don't want to be in a metal shell. It's just so that Bruce can kind of, hang out with himself as he dies. But then later it does get a little darker. And when that happened, I thought, ooh, if this was this clone and he's off and he's so upset that he didn't live them and he has to relive those memories, and all of a sudden some bullshit starts happening around Gotham. Like, people are dying in weird ways, but they kind of set up something that happened in Batman's past. When he cut off the hand is what I'm thinking, like, he's like, Tommy, he's going to do anything to be just like that Bruce Wayne.
But no, instead he cut his hand off in order for Bruce to be able to have a hand, that he could replace his robot one with. Kind of like we had with Alfred previously.
Yeah, because, we've done so much with that hand. And in the meantime, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, we got a metal hand that one of the big things that we saw, it shot smoke out of it. Remember when the smoke fingers, that's about all I saw. Or he could punch the crap out of people because it's metal, or get this crazy clone with this accelerated nonsense with the hand in the pickle jar. I'm keeping the metal hand. Next thing, we have body parts. He's going to be a serial killer, Eric. He's got a serial killer's hand.
It doesn't work like that because that guy was a serial killer. This is another Bruce Wayne. It's foolproof.
Yeah, but but it's also got I don't know how it is. What the blood keeping it? It's got that. All of a sudden, Bruce is 200 years old.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of myself, even the idea, too. You want to go complete comic book weird science with it because we're going to replace Bruce Wayne's hand with the robot one with the new, clone hand that he has here. But the blood's going to go in there, and somehow the nanoparticles of a Zor-En-Arr personality are going to leach back in.
It's back.
I don't know.
or he's like, well, it's time for the stranger tonight. And he's like, ooh, this is good. This isn't my hand, right?
You always got to take it to a weird place.
Right? Or now when he wants to talk to the kids and he punches the messages, it's not him. He's like, whoa, that was the clone. He can beat the crap out of anybody now. Yeah, Jason Todd not around much in this either.
Sex and violence.
Yeah, sex and violence. But yeah, you end up where the clone in that cool jumpsuit. Thought that was pretty cool. But they're trying to work out. They're trying to make it so he's not accelerated anymore. It's not going to happen. But then even when they're doing it and this Bruce ends up, growing to the age of Batman even, he starts asking about that hand, stuff like that, which is crazy. But in the meantime, Bruce is remembering a lot of Zor-En-Arr's memories that were locked away, that were partitioned in his own mind. Yeah. And he ends up finding this cave that he goes down to. He brings Tim Drake because he's afraid maybe something will trigger him to get. He doesn't know. All the things, he's still worried that somehow he could get triggered back to Zor-En-Arr.
I'd be worried too, because even at the final battle in the last issue, when Cap, you just had a phrase he could say to disable Batman. I just imagine with this, Zor-En-Arr hidden Batcave that he has, you would have just some speaker playing these things that make you into a Manchurian candidate immediately.
Well, and a little personal thing. I won't go that personal, but the idea at this moment. Well, my wife Tanya, she has dissociative disorder. She has a bunch of other personalities, and she's working in this kind of experimental therapy that's supposed to integrate or get rid, whatever the deal is. And what Batman says in this, I actually read to her, and she's like, it's exactly what they're trying to do, where he says, I don't know who the real one is. Like, he's still afraid that Zur-En-Arrh is the real personality, and that will overtake.
It's like back in the day when Peter Parker thought that he was the clone and Ben Reilly was the real one, and vice versa.
And he went back. Yeah, and so he says, I'm kind of afraid something to trigger me. And what if that Zur-En-Arrh, that's the main one? Maybe that's the real Batman, and I'm just the side deal. So
that's a cool idea. I just don't know how far you could take that idea.
I don't think it's going to go much further. I think it's just here, but it's nice to kind of go with it. It's a
cool idea, but after dealing with Zur-En-Arrh for so long now, like to go directly back, I'm like, I don't know if that's the way, but it could have been cool at one point.
And again, it's a weird page or 2 pages because this is, Tanya was worried and was talking about me like, well, what if this thing's the real thing, or what happens if it overtakes it, whatever. And I almost said like, well, that's just, or she says, now that that's gone, I'm going to end up feeling things more, whatever. And I'm like, that's just being a person. And that's what Tim says. And it is funny when he's like, what you're saying is just, you're going to be human, Bruce. And he's like, yeah, not a fan. That made me laugh. That actually was a really, really good line. And he says, you get used to it. And I love Tim being that guy to kind of be the light again, because he always has been in the deal. And also goes with, you get that Chip Zdarsky. Well, I think that he doesn't get Damian. He does get Tim, and I think that he likes Tim. If anybody was going to guess what Chip Zdarsky's favorite Robin was, it has to be Tim Drake. Every time he's shown up, he's been a big thing.
In the previous issue, we had Tim in that new dog shit suit that they put him in. This one, he's back to classic Tim Drake. What was that suit all about that he was in? Was that something you were supposed to say that they made that?
I think
they made it in the cabin like Bruce Wayne did with his new bat suit?
I think that's what it was. Bruce is not really good stitching. And that's gone. Stitches are for bitches, is what he said. And so you end up, but you end up where, again, that Bruce is desperately trying to save this clone. I think that he's like not desperately, like he doesn't have the money at this point, and there's another mouth to feed. He knows how much he eats, Eric. He doesn't want to do it. Later, though, he's all happy because he gets this money. But yeah, he's trying to figure this out. But he says, I don't have the money. I don't have the deal, but please, we'll figure this out at some point. And then he goes off to Wayne Industries. And the first time I read it, you actually told me what you thought it was, and it is. He's going back, and I thought it was a weird play, but he's remembering things that Zur-En-Arrh did when Zur-En-Arrh had taken over.
Bruce, what is it? What's going on? You look like you're remembering something.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And even then, when he got kicked off the board, like he kind of got told not to come back. Like he was looked at as a guy who had embezzled money at one point. That's how he lost the money.
I'm not even sure how it works anymore because he hasn't done anything with Wayne Enterprises in a long time. And just coming back in because I don't even know what Lucius does with this anymore.
I know, and Lucius has the other money, right?
Yeah, Lucius got the rest of the money, but at one point it seemed like Lucius was still in charge of Wayne Enterprises while Luke started Fox Tech, but then it seemed like Lucius took control of Fox Tech with Luke, and I'm like, I don't know where anybody stands anymore.
They're busy doing
the
outsider shit, right? That's what they're doing.
He's using Bruce Wayne's money to fund bullshit.
I'm telling you, I get the idea. Bruce walks in, he's like, hey there, Maggie, sorry I've been away. And she's like, security? Yeah, you're not supposed to be here, Mr. Wayne, I'm sorry. But even when he comes in, he's like, hold my calls. I'm like, hold your calls? You haven't been here for that long. Like, shut your mouth.
And again, I'm guessing he's still a board member.
Yeah, I thought that they actually took him completely off because of the idea that it was put out there that he was funding Batman, that it was embezzled money. That money then got taken away.
He's been funding Batman openly for a long time.
Yeah, but it kept going back and forth that he wasn't. That was the big news again when it was brought out, and that they ended up finding out that money was offshore stuff, which he gets again here. It's very odd. The whole reason why Lucius got it was to hold it because Bruce couldn't have it and didn't have Wayne Industries anymore, but there he is. It's kind of being swept apart, and he realizes, he looks and he's like, sees that, oh, Zur-En-Arrh was taken over while I was doing this call.
Obviously, I don't know how, business works, okay? But let's just say this. I'm going to throw some things out there that are in my mind. I have no idea if they make sense or not. Now, let's say this. He's still on the board because his family owns the company, but all his shares in the company were taken away with that, so he can't earn any money from the business like he did before. But he's still in a charged kind of state there where he can just walk in, even but like I ain't got no money, I ain't making no money, I ain't got to work, I ain't coming back till I want to, bitches.
It seemed like the reason why he was off because he was an embarrassment and it would end up, ruining the company, and they had to kind of get him away, if I can remember right. But even so, if he doesn't have any shares or anything like that, I'm like, I don't know that he has an office anymore. Like, it's very odd. This should have been something to really wrap it around and deal with Lucius. Lucius comes to him, gives him back the money, whatever it might be, maybe even with interest, but it's not.
Well, I'm telling you, this should just be something that we found in the Zur-En-Arrh Batcave.
Yeah, it could have been that too. Even though, this money does look like it's hidden money again. He's just going right back to that. I don't know how all of a sudden Bruce Wayne...
Look, we got accounts in Singapore, Belize, the Cayman Islands. This is all, this is all good stuff, right?
It's great stuff, especially because he was... remember, Catwoman had to swoop in and grab all the money because it was being taken... Like, now it's all of a sudden popping up. Where's the... I don't know, the government and their overseeing of people with money and things like that.
When you're rich enough, you don't got to worry about that shit.
I guess all of a sudden the guy's got $3 billion that's also in our stuff, and you would assume that...
Let's get political. They're only going after the middle and lower class.
The weird thing is the idea of, like, you can't say that this was, like, blood money because Zur-En-Arrh wouldn't kill. No. But I don't think it's on the up and up either. He's getting it from some real odd places there.
But that wasn't Bruce. That was Zur-En-Arrh. It's fine.
But now he's taking it with the
Stolen
smile.
Embezzled money's fine.
Yeah, that's found. He's like, it's like you found a penny on the street.
Like when I found those 2 bottles of vodka behind that grocery store when I was a kid. That was just a good time.
It's like when you found that gum and those candies on the shelf in the 7-Eleven. You found it. It was yours. I'm saying the whole thing of this is I think that there's probably a lot of people who are like, yeah, that doesn't seem like a Bruce Wayne move. It really doesn't feel like.
And as far as we know, the idea, but could be really cool, the idea that pure mission Batman, you know what he might be about? Man, honestly, now that I'm saying that out loud, it might be against.
Yeah.
Ghostmaker could have given him the money.
I wanted Ghostmaker. But
Ghostmaker is more of a killer, and I don't think the Zur would allow it.
But if you ended up Ghostmaker coming, like, I actually would have liked the idea where you would probably have it in a Nightwing book, where you have the idea of...
Because we're talking about $3 billion.
Bruce Wayne doesn't have any money. Nightwing, he has billions now. Because some of that, he could say... I think that I want to give you some of this, Bruce. And Bruce would, no. But all of a sudden, Bruce, all of a sudden, Terrific, Mr. Terrific gives him some. Oliver Queen gives him. Like, everybody chips in to actually show how much they love Batman.
Rich.
Oh, it's not. But again, and then I'd be like, I don't know. I wonder he wouldn't be able to pay the taxes.
Come on.
I wanted it to be something that felt like it was the family and something that
you and
Batman
I both know that
as
soon as you give somebody money, bad things happen that you need that money back immediately.
That is true. That happened with us. Zach lent money.
Before.
We needed it exactly that time too. And that's going on right now. But again, I think that this is the idea is Zur-En-Arrh is still Bruce, so it is his money, but it's hidden in a weird place the way he finds it here. And also I think that it's a disconnect that most people assume and will go in their mind, bad money, dirty money, Bruce gets it. It may not be. I wish that we saw it was. Maybe he's just very smart. He played the market.
Zur played the market. He found a lot of patents in his freaking Zur time that he was out and about. It's fine.
And the funny thing, though, is the reason why you get caught in this corner that I think Chip Zdarsky got caught in is if this was going on and it was just Zur and he was depositing it, Bruce would have known. So you have to hide the money, but hiding the money makes it the dirty money. It's very odd, but he has $3 billion. Bitches, he's rich again.
When all is said and done, that's all that matters. Batman has money again. We don't gotta go through the idea that Batman's poor, even though we never actually got to see that.
I was going to say, also, he has $3 billion, but it's not. It never felt like he didn't have money. It was only when
he had a rich person for like a house and a neighborhood instead of the mansion.
He had the brownstone and this, and even then, in this
the rich
issue,
person house.
In this issue, you had to bring it up. I wish I had the funds, only to remind people you had to, because it never played out. Mariko Tamaki seemed to be part of that.
I can't say that it was around the same time, but I feel it was just personally. But it's like when Superman was supposed to have more power than he ever had before. You never saw that in the comic. Or when Bruce lost his mind, Batman's poor now. And I'm like, you could tell me that every goddamn issue. I'm never getting that idea.
Remember at one point, it was like really pushed, like, he was, and I made the joke. Like, he gets in a fight, he's going, and afterwards he has to go back and pick up the batarangs because he can't afford, he's like picking them up and going in. Remember, at one point it was actually told and spelled out in a press release that Batman he'd have to be under the hood and fix the Batmobile if it needed. They could not. He's on top of that one. He ends up where also, like, he wouldn't afford gas. Oh, the gas prices. We never saw that. There's only been a couple times where they throw it out
all we did was move location. That's all we did.
Location,
and make little sub
location.
caves that once one story was over, we never dealt with again.
And so even that, when you get in this story, he gets his money back. And then he starts at one point talking about that idea of, I gotta live amongst the peoples, not that brownstones. And I'm like, I never even got that. I knew that it was a richer name. What did you call it? Rich people's houses?
It's rich people's houses.
It was rich people's houses. All I remember is that one sewer girl coming out that had been dead, Mr. Wayne, remember that? But I never really got. Yeah, you never really got like a full concept of any of this, any of that route and whatnot. You know.
What about the garage where Ghostmaker and Bruce used to play foosball?
Now that was kick ass. The bro-rage is what I call it now. But in that, you end up Bruce coming back after he gets his money, and there's the kids waiting on the stoop there. You got.
Hey, guy, I finally have the money and we can save you now. Oh, my God, you cut your fucking hand off. What did you do?
Tim and Damian are like, you better get in there.
Die.
But this is where, when we get in there, I like the silver fox look he has. When I saw his hand cut off, I really thought that this is, like I said, like almost like a Tommy Elliott type of play of the idea that I want to have a life exactly like yours. And I thought he might be able to be a pretty cool villain where he's even cut off his hand. So that he could be like Bruce, because he didn't have that.
Hush and shush.
Yeah, really lush, because he's a drunker, just like you. But yeah, when he's sitting there, I mean, that looks great there with that whole hand. But then when they start talking about a jar of pickles, and then you see what looks like the hand in a pickle jar anyway, it's in the back of the tank. And he says, I know you might be able to save me, but it might be when I'm 80. I wanted to help you now, give you the hand. And I'm like, again, we didn't do that much with the money. We didn't do that much with the hand.
Sure didn't.
We really didn't. And I actually think that'd be something kind of cool to look into. But
from what's going on with this, you can take away that Bruce has his money back. Check that off there. We don't have to worry about that ever again, even though you probably nobody ever did. But we also can think about, this is how I thought about it personally, was the Genesis program that Scott Snyder set up for his version of Batman when his run was, where Bruce Wayne had the cloning. I always want to say that this is part of the Genesis program, which cloned this Bruce that Zur used. And I think he realizes this is not this is not the thing to do anymore. I think he's going to shut that down completely.
Again, even so, what we're doing, though, is money back. And this is the other thing. We're heading to absolute power. I had said, and I seem to, guess, that once absolute power is done, we're going to get maybe a status quo, but something that'll feel like a reboot that's not a reboot. We're going to get a lot of creative team changes. We are getting a lot of creative team changes. We're going to do things. The idea of getting this stuff back, this isn't just Chip Zdarsky putting the toys back of his own thing. The hand, yes. The money, though, that's been for quite some time. He is actually correcting things that are years old now, even before he came. It does feel like it's setting up to get to some sort of, the money thing, just like you said, it never really worked anyway. But in that, it's like, you're really getting everything back to maybe a classic feel. I'm surprised that Alfred didn't come out of the shower at one point in this, the way that it really feels like it's trying to get a new status quo, but something like classic with the kids back and all that.
No, I agree. You're getting a good status quo with the idea where you do have a new mansion when he's going to rebuild the Low Molar mansion with the Joker trash previously, I think, in Batman 140. He bought that. He's going to fix it up. It's going to be the new Pennyworth Manor that we're calling it, because everything has to be Pennyworth now. But everybody has a room there. Everybody in the Bat family. It's going to be a family-oriented book, and we have the money to take care of a big-ass family like this.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like not just Chip Zdarsky stopping something, but Duke's there. Don't see Jason much, but you end up where
he's a grown man.
Clone. I also have an issue when we go a little bit further, but you end up the clone now is real old, and I thought now they'll solve it, and he could be Alfred. He's an old-ass bitch. Look at him. Get a butler's outfit on him and teach him how to make cucumber sandwiches. That's all Alfred did, right? That's all he did. But he starts saying stuff. Oh, is it weird watching, yourself die? And Bruce is like, I've seen weirder things. And then says, I don't want to die in this basement. I want to kind of die where our memories are, and I don't want to be underground. They go back to the mansion, And they even mentioned Vandal Savage. Is he going to set off the dogs, almost
Release
like a Mr. Burns? Yeah, and he's like, whatever, no. And they kind of joke around. They look at the graves, and then as the sun sets, they're together. I told you it reminded me very much of the Tom Taylor Batman Superman issue that back in the New 52, where was it a Daxamite?
I think it was a Daxamite, yeah.
I think it was. And it was like this Daxamite that was with Superman and Batman and just wanted to watch the sun go down and ended up dying. It's kind of very similar. And there's some feels here. I actually got a little bit of a tinge of some feels, even though this clone just kind of was sprung on us. But it was okay. And I liked the way, when he said it was a good life. And that almost is like a bookend to the Tom King stuff that even started the Rebirth when he's going and plane surfing. But he said, we had a good life of helping and healing. And he's like, yeah, it really was, wasn't it? And that was nice.
So the thing is, I want to have these nice moments and share them with you, but the whole time all I can think about is this quote of Bruce Wayne is dying of old age, accelerated old age, just thinking to myself, how did you get him in that wheelchair over the freaking fence around the manor grounds? How did you sneak onto the manor grounds?
There's some weird things in this, the same like that, where I have a question, but.
And maybe there isn't the big fencing gate. I just have all the media that ever was Batman tied into one place.
He's also like going through this lawn with the chair. And then also it looks like Vandal Savage might not be doing a lot of the lawn care. I like that Vandal has watched them do this, though.
I like to think that you think that Bruce used to do a lot of the lawn care. Is that what you think he did?
No. I think that, Vandal is, how do you think I got so rich? He ain't spending money on lawn care. He's just like, I don't even think he hangs out at the mansion, especially when it goes forward, because the bat signal goes up. And Batman comes in pretty much as like, hey, if anybody needs to know the status quo going forward, this is it. Batman's a dick.
Fuck Vandal Savage.
Vandal Savage. I know it's Vandal Savage, but he is, it's a weird play. He is the commissioner. I mean, you might
think... He is pure evil.
You might think, but he's still the commissioner and basically just says, you guys can do your thing, but if I need you, you come and help me. You can have the mansion back. You can end up this. He's like, fuck you.
I'm telling you, call him a dick. Symbol. This is like the idea that he was going to work with, and we talked about this before, like the other day, but the idea would almost be like when like Kingpin became mayor and Spider-Man working with him because he's the mayor.
No, what you would do is you'd say, okay, to try to figure out what the hell's going on, and then react. Don't sit there and blow up the signal. Say, I'm going to take you down, asshole. Now you have the whole GCPD after you for no reason. You could have played the game. Well, yeah, but you get it, and he zips off. Again, Batman has been dealing with bullshit and all these...
And he's not about to compromise now.
And then Vandal Savage is probably just like, I can't leave the city limits, you asshole. I got to do something. I need a job.
And that's Batman's advantage.
That stupid mansion. That'd be funny is he's like 2 feet out and making fun of Vandal Savage.
Thing. That's the whole thing. I'm like, the whole thing's going to culminate to the idea of a street brawl, a fist fight right at the city limits.
And he just runs. He steps over. I dare you
Throws
to step
him
over
right
that
through the city limits.
Yeah, and if anybody doesn't know what we're saying, when the comet hit during the Gotham
the
War...
meteor, Jim.
The meteor. It ended up when it hit, Vandal Savage got his immortality back, but he can't leave...
The meteor that originally gave Vandal Savage his powers that crash landed to Gotham and created a Lazarus pit and gave Catwoman 9 lives or...
was
able
Egyptian
to
god,
then maybe
resurrect Jason Todd. But so crazy.
While Vandal Savage was losing his powers because the comet meteor was wearing off, he brought it back down to him, got the power back, but magically, because magic comet meteors, he can't leave the city limits of Gotham. Because, the idea that a meteor would come down, create a Lazarus pool at the Gotham Observatory, it knows the exact geographical distance of a Gotham city.
Wouldn't it be funny if Batman sets it up and Batman's like, I dare you to cross that line? But it's actually going on the lines of 1862 before they reposition the deal and Vandal Savage kicks the shit on him. The only reason they did that, quite frankly, is Vandal Savage would have already left. He would have nothing to do with Gotham City and this bullshit. He would have left and done his things worldwide. And he hasn't had anything to
do so far, so hopefully coming out of absolute power, we get to do something with him in that regard. I'm telling you, even the idea of him becoming like commissioner, we had a bunch of rich elite assholes who should have been Court of the Owls members who put him in power here. Renee Montoya didn't say shit about any of it, and I'm like, it just happened. I don't know why we freaking had to rush job that.
Well, you have that. I'm telling you, rich assholes is what, to me, Bruce, if Vandal Savage would have come and lit that signal a day before, all in, because now he has his money back, he's an asshole. Keep the damn house. And he goes up like 2 days before, he never would have said that he was desperate. But you have that, and they even play this idea, is the house... And
about Vandal, I'm burning the house.
The house is more than the family, so would I. And just the bodies, everything. Done, Eric. I have it all done. Yeah, Alfred and all of them, they're done.
Oh, you're digging up the graves?
Oh,
and
yeah,
shit?
I'm digging up the graves. I'm throwing that shit out. I'm burning down the mansion.
Look. I know you can maybe make it look like you didn't burn your own mansion down, but when you dig up bodies and put them in there, I know it's on your property. I still think that might be against the law.
Well, it might be, but I think the commissioner might have something to say. Oh, that's Vandal, so he's in.
Ooh.
It's all corrupt, Eric. It's good, right? He's there. Oh, right. So you end up where all that, but the big play is a house is more the family that lives in it. And they end up, Bruce does buy. Again, he said she can keep the damn house because he's rich, bitch. He doesn't need to have that mansion back.
It's a nice moment where you bring the whole family to your new mansion at Lowmolar, mansion, which is now the Pennyworth mansion. You have everybody here. You have this great sentimental moment. There's enough. It's not as big as the old Wayne Manor, but there's enough room for everybody to be here. Eventually, we'll have a bat cave set up when we can. But the idea, a $3 billion rich Bruce Wayne is going to be up there re-shingling his own fucking roof. You're out of your mind.
Well, this old mansion. That's what he's doing. I love that Damian's standing on those bricks. Somebody's got to tell him to watch out. But what I love is when they're there and everybody's coming in, Damian has his Naruto shirt. You have a flash shirt on Duke, and they're coming in. Hey, what up? What up, bitches? And they come in, and you have against the gate. First off, people were saying because Steph and Cass are there that, oh, my God, they're going to end up having a beloved. I'm like, they're just there looking and being friends. But who's standing next to them? Who's there?
We have Dick, Tim, Damian, and Duke.
Tim, right? Tim says, emphasis on old. Check it out, right? Why does he change his shirt? He ends up, when they walk in, he's now got a Superman shirt. He had a yellow shirt on at that point. The guy ended up changing his shirt as he went in to then help. Maybe that yellow shirt, that was like a special shirt, and he didn't want to get it ruined.
I imagine it's one of those internet things where you have to look at it in the right lighting. You see it as yellow. I see it as blue.
I see it black. Actually. It's more of a greenish, pukey type deal. And he's like, emphasis
it's one of those tricks of the light.
I need to see them. They're walking up and he's taking his shirt off. I better brand myself like the rest. He puts that. I actually was looking to see if Jason was involved. And I'm like, okay, well, that must be Tim, but he's got a green shirt. But who's that with the Superman shirt? 2 seconds. Oh, it's still Tim. But yeah, and then in that, it looks like it's like a hot day, and there's freaking Nightwing. He's got the hoodie on. Crazy, right?
No, he's a heroin addict.
I have a hoodie on right now.
What is wrong with you?
I just can't help myself, I guess. But there's Bruce. They're like, where is he?
You just want to be able to bitch about things, I swear to God.
Maybe, and I like that Bruce is there. He's up there with what looks like a subatomic powered freaking nail gun or something. I don't even know what he's putting the shingles on.
I don't even know. We used to work with nail guns.
Look at that
exactly
thing.
Like this. It's that exactly the same.
But in that, what is he? I don't think he's. I don't even know what he's doing, really. I guess he's putting shingles on the side, but it looks weird. And then what you do see is Damian, he's on the bricks, right? He's on the whole thing of bricks. He's still shorter than everyone. They go, and everybody's sitting around drinking. And then you look in, and then when Batman comes down, you have to see the stupid clock in the background. Is that the clock from where did he get that? Did Vandal Savage give it? It looks like the actual clock, but maybe he got a replica.
Maybe.
I don't know.
He's got the money for it.
That'd be funny if they watched, like the last thing him and the clone did. They went in, grabbed the clock, and then got a bag of shit and lit it on fire, and then they could yell that Vandal Savage indeed calls the shit poop. It would be great, Eric. He comes out stamping it and stuff.
The thing is, awesome. he bought this mansion that was all busted up by the Joker, right? It's still a mansion. Dollars to donuts that every goddamn rich mansion has a freaking grandfather clock in it.
Maybe, I guess. But they're really showing it almost like the idea of, oh, good, he got that. But, everybody gets their room. Everybody's going to be, even says to Dick and Barbara, hey, I know you're going to be in Bloodhaven, but, you can come by. This is your Gotham home. It's nice. And then as he's doing that, he's working.
Right across the bridge. It's fine.
Yeah. And they're talking. They're hugging it out, bitch. They got their arms around each other, talking about Damian goes off to get his room because he wants something in the west, facing the west because he's a prick. And then you end up where after the hours, you get somebody come up. And I actually thought when I first read it, this was like, okay, that's Alfred's spy. It's just, I guess, a coffin that he made had made for the clone. He's going to bury his clone. And I don't even know what sort of laws pertain to that. But Selina shows up and says, hey, what are you doing?
This is my property.
I like what he's like. I'm burying my past. He's like, I wish he said like, oh, a clone that got too old and then died. He's like, damn it, you know me too well.
Yeah, shit's been weird for me, too. I got Egyptian god meteor stuff going on. I had Shazam powers. I've been to space.
This is the thing. Right here, she says, I've been to space. All the things she says. The laughter that the two of them have, twice the laughter we've had in her actual book. That bullshit. I'm telling you, they're laughing at T.D. Howard. I think they're laughing at T.D. Howard. It's like,
that's all I took it as.
That's pretty good.
Because like when she says the idea, like, hey, I've been to space and all this stuff, and this is the idea when you can run down what's been going on with Catwoman, and they just both start laughing. I'm like, yep, this is for the fans who have to read Catwoman right now.
Us. We're like, yeah, I get it. I wish Bruce is like, yeah, I jumped from the moon to Earth and didn't die, bitch.
And it was awesome.
That's what he said, and Eric loved it. Bat God. She's like, I had 9 lives, but then I got an extra one. I also turned with the powers of Shazam, and I ended up in a Chernobyl disaster.
But not proper Shazam, but like Shazams.
Yeah, to get Amanda Waller. And then he's like, get the hell out of here, you lying jerk.
So that's the best thing, too, because, Selina came by. It looks like we're going to reinvigorate this, or at least catch up with what's going on with the love between Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. And I can only imagine, like, you going to tell him about how you have a meteor in your brain that's not only keeping you alive, but killing you?
What happened if he's like, what's this buzzing sound going on?
Oh, no, you got it too?
Yeah, I actually think that what this isn't fully reinvigorating it. It's that if it's going to have something down the line, that it's set up to have that. I think that they'll be, apart for each other and whatnot.
And I'm telling you, it kind of works in a pseudo-synergy with Catwoman this week, who came back to Gotham and had the final stand with Felicity Viceroy, so she's back in town with a few days to kill. Why not go see the old love, the old flame?
I still think that Bruce is like, and they even talk about this idea of like, oh, yeah, my mind wasn't right during that Gotham War. Like, nobody's mind was right, and it was bullshit, and that really didn't get resolved very well of where they would be on solid ground here. That bullshit that she was trying to pull, but
I thought she was dead until you left me that thumb drive. I was so worried about you as the Catwoman's.
And then he's like, hey, by the way, I still think you should probably be wanted for murder. I mean, you might want to watch where you're going around. You were in jail for murder. You broke out of jail. Nothing was ever solved.
I'm Batman, and you're a murderer.
Yeah, and the idea that, remember, Batman was going to try to get her off with the deal on the rooftops, but also in the thing. There should be cops swarming on this, FBI, everything. There is a murderer who led a jailbreak and is just walking willy-nilly through Gotham now because whatever, it's all... You'll never get resolution to that. It'll be done. What will happen is we'll get Duchess. You still think that it's... What's his name?
Valmont.
Valmont. For some reason, I knew it was Valmont. I was going to say something else. Valmont will be alive somehow. And that will everything will be pushed aside, even though that's not how things work. But yeah.
Double jeopardy.
She should be in jail. That's what happens, right? Yeah, that's what it is. What? You said that I was a murderer twice. Double jeopardy. Like, she also, even that, she also was like stealing. I'm telling you, it's wacky, but she's a murderer. Prison break. But it ends. They go in and it's nice. And I like the idea of the house. I wish Jason was here. I wish we ended up at the end with the portrait with Jason. I like everybody on it. Even the clone. It's like the clone's on the side looking all sickly and shit. Like they're not really even paying attention, but the clone's there in the wheelchair, like at the very
part
side.
of the frame of the picture is actually taking up half his body because they don't want to feature him in the photo.
That's what I'm saying. They let him be in it, but they didn't want to. In that also, like at the top, you can kind of see, and Catwoman's like entering the Earth's atmosphere, like she's involved. Have all this bullshit, but yeah, you don't get that. You just get that they're working on this mansion that was up for sale because the joke. And I love where Bruce is like, I got it real cheap. The Joker really shitted this place up. But it's big, so you'll be able to have that. We have Pennyworth Mansion. I wonder when Alfred comes back if he would want to live in a Pennyworth Mansion. Like I said to you, I made the joke that everywhere you go in Gotham and Bloodhaven now, everything's Pennyworth. Pennyworth this, Pennyworth that. He's going to be pissed. He's not that kind of guy.
I guess. I'm sitting there, I'm like, why is it more stuff named after me? I don't even have Shea Stadium anymore.
No, I tried to get you on the Quakertown Wikipedia of notable people. They took you off. I had you on. You were on for about a month, and then somebody complained, I guess. I saw some of these whack asses that were on there. Half of them aren't even from Quakertown. We get that weird play where there's so many people from other close towns. They ain't Quakertonians. You know, like Eric Shea. What would you give?
They're like, he was raised in Warminster. Oh.
There's the one girl was like East Greenville. That ain't Quakertown. That's sure Pennsburg. That ain't Quakertown. Somebody, I forget, there's another baseball player that I know for a fact is from Penn Ridge. there are rivals.
Sure are.
I'm like, that's the
I'm furious now.
Oh my God.
I was told to hate them for many years.
Shelbyville. I mean, we can't have this happen. But what would you give this?
I would give this a 6.8 out of 10. I'm all happy about the status quo changes, the reinvigoration of the Batman character getting back to the basics, having a family involvement, things I wanted from the character for a long time. But the overabundance of dealing with this clone, which I think was just terribly utilized because it could have been something huge, just thrown away. I know you're trying to show an introspective look at Bruce Wayne seeing his own death and trying to see it like himself from another perspective, but it just doesn't play off as well to me for how it's presented here. And this almost like a throwaway kind of bit from like him just being introduced in the previous issue to here, and he's dead. I don't know. It just went on too long, and it didn't have any lasting effect for me. Maybe it will for Bruce Wayne, and I'm just not seeing the more personal aspect to it that I wish I could, but it's just not enough for me. And I think the art's pretty good.
Are we trying to do the idea of Grant Morrison, everybody has to write that Bruce Wayne dies, that Batman dies, and he did this weird, like, I'm going to be clever, and it's a clone? Yeah. But again, when you're doing this and you have it, like, me and you, since we've been doing this, and, you've been reading comics most of your life, so we've been doing our podcast, and, for a little over 10 years, whatnot, and we've seen Batman, Bruce Wayne die so many times. So it doesn't really have that oomph anyway. And then when it's a clone that we just ended up throwing in there, and then he's aging up.
He's a reverse Benjamin Button.
Exactly.
And fast forward.
He just ages properly. But fast forward. I'm not saying, and I don't think you're saying either, that we would have like, oh, that'd be a cool villain. Not now. Like, you can't have it next issue in my mind. But this would be something that's aside that maybe a couple of years from now, all of a sudden and you've forgotten about it. And like, oh,
exactly.
Shit, this is that. And then just imagine with the hand, he does that, but somehow and then all of a sudden you see this like one-handed bat. Oh my God, that's that clone. That would be really neat down the line, not right away. But you'd be setting maybe a story up for the future. Instead, it's just that cheap. Yeah, I'm going to show Batman dies. So
and I would have kept him the teenage Bruce Wayne Robin age and had him grow up a bit.
Yeah, and then Damian and him
just disappears. We never found him and never brought up again until some writer's like, I want to bring that clone back. And I'm like, yeah!
Weird science is the revolution.